The worst possible cabinet, in the worst possible government, at the worst possible time, could just as easily apply to the way in which the Tories have handled the project they were elected to enact, the Great British Brexit. Here is part 2. Much was made in the right-wing press, almost uniformly pro-Brexit, about there being no problems when the 1st of January dawned and there weren't queues of trucks waiting at Britain's ports, economic breakdown, etc., etc. Now we were free from the EU. Well, of course there weren't. With it being a bank holiday, with trade generally slow across the new year, and specifically suppressed because of the coronavirus, such crowing was inevitably premature. And so it was. In the 3 weeks that had followed the UK's final EU exit, the limitations of that deal have begun to bite. For example, Irish racehorses cannot be easily moved about to attend events like the Cheltenham Festival. Show jumping horses likewise to the EU because of potentially large additional customs costs. Motorsport too, as UK-based teams find that races in the EU come with significant additional paperwork and cost, even with negotiated customs packages. Rules of origin regulations mean new duties paid by the fashion industry, especially impacting the lower margin, lower end brands and lines. Meat prices for Britain's farmers are dropping because of export delays. Fishermen, already smelling the odour of betrayal, now find that much of the fish they catch can't be sold easily as it anyway went to the EU. Therefore, it becomes an export with new costs, regulations and delays because we are now outside the single market. Hauliers are finding that 1 in 10 trucks are turned back, that the EU border down the Irish Sea, needed to make the peace agreement work, means English exporters already find it too costly to sell to Northern Ireland. Ferries, which formerly plied the route Great Britain to Northern Ireland, are now being diverted Ireland to France, so that vehicles can avoid that brief and unnecessary interlude outside the EU called driving across England. Worse still, in a sector worth over £40 billion in exports, is the damage to the car industry. With so many components originating across Europe and beyond, parts delivery delays have slowed or halted production at some plants. That is before there are further possible issues with exporting completed vehicles, given the UK's third country status now. Whilst the financial services industry has unbalanced the British economy for 3 decades, the slow, steady slipping away of its tax revenues will undoubtedly begin to hurt badly. There was no provision for any post-Brexit continuation of financial trade freedom with the EU. Noting my earlier chats, viewers may be aware that I believe that is deliberate, since the Brexiter Tories have always seemed to want that complete break, allowing a small number of financial gamblers to risk all again amid a bonfire of regulations. Incredibly, a government agency, the Department for International Trade, has been advising British businesses now struggling with exports that they should set up separate companies within the EU to make the process of distributing their goods easier. What, like so many Tory hedge funders did, despite Brexit being such a great idea? Why not just stay in the European Union and continue to benefit directly, without incurring all the permanent extra red tape that wasn't going to happen, remember? All this after only 3 weeks. This is only the tip of a very large iceberg of trade and economic woe. Johnson's deal might mean tariff-free trade, but it is not the frictionless continuation promised by ardent leavers following the referendum. If there is one thing Brexiters definitely did not grasp, it was the freedoms of the single market and customs union, and what losing those would mean. It wasn't Project Fear, it was hard reality. They absolutely did not understand what they were giving up for a meaningless sovereignty. Brexit, in the form delivered, benefits only a very few of the wealthiest in the UK. It puts hard regulatory and cost barriers up for the vast majority. Others have said plainly that this country has been the first to negotiate a trade deal where the outcome is to make things harder, more costly and more damaging to its own trade. Brexit has begun the gradual diminishing of the UK. As the economy slows steadily but perceptibly, it will become ever clearer that so many who voted leave were led by a huge network of lies and deceit and will suffer the most because of it. The suffering begins sooner than some might think. Already the Business Secretary has confirmed that the Tories intend to review employment legislation post-Brexit. Since much of what is in place derives from our time in the EU, do not expect any generosity from the government. The Tories have long made it plain that they are not in the habit of supporting common workers. And, I am quite sure, they intend to recover some of the inevitable financial losses from their Brexit by clawing back billions from paid leave, working hours limits and other rights which help make work bearable in the neoliberal age. Chin chin.